Welcome to Ignite Interviews. I'm Cyndi Donahue, and I'm so excited to be with Ginger Ewing today from Terrain to talk about art and art in our community and diversity in our community.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Cyndi. I appreciate being here.
I always love seeing you.
Likewise.
So for those of people out there that don't know what Terrain is, let's just talk a little about Terrain.
Okay, yeah, so we started Terrain, it is crazy to think that about 14 years ago. And what we thought was going to be kind of a one night only, one-time event. Fast forward 14 years later, we are a full-blown nonprofit organization. We do kind of large-scale events. So we have our flagship event, Terrain, which happens pre-pandemic every year.
Is it going to happen this year potentially?
Yes. If all goes right with the pandemic, yes, we feel comfortable moving forward with it this year. So we still have that flagship event. That flagship event is kind of multidisciplinary. So we have music and visual arts and performance arts and literary arts, a little bit of everything that kind of showcases the Spokane community in that moment of time. It's become a pretty beloved event. We typically have 10 to 15,000 people come through in a single evening. The last time we did it was in 2019. We featured 274 artists that year. So again, it's just a little bit of everything to showcase all of the amazing creativity that's happening in Spokane. So in addition to that flagship event, we also have two other kind of large-scale annual events we do. They're both art markets. They're called Bazaar, which happens in the summer, and Brrrzaar, which happens in the winter. We thought we were super clever when we were naming that winter event. I can't say it without smiling. So, so we have those two art markets. They've also grown tremendously over the years. We just got done doing Bazaar, which we typically do in River Park Square in partnership with them. We had 70 artists showcased at that event. In a single day, artists sold $175,000 worth of art and handmade goods. So we kind of do those large annual events, but we also have ongoing programming. So we have a permanent gallery space called Terrain Gallery, and we switch out shows monthly for that. I have a little bit of a download insider information. We haven't told anybody this yet, but we are actually moving our gallery space currently, and it's really exciting. It will have a lot more autonomy and visibility in our new space, so we're really excited about that.
Can you share where it's going?
It's 628 North Monroe, so it's just over the bridge, kind of connected to the park. It's a beautiful historic building built in 1904. If you saw a picture of the building I'm talking about, I know that you would know what it is because it's just that kind of standout-ish in the Spokane landscape. It's a beautiful space, so we're really excited about that. And then we have a retail storefront called From Here that is open 7 days a week, 363-ish days a year. We currently feature 110 artists out of that store. We're coming off a wildly successful holiday season. We were able to write $100,000 worth of checks to artists just for the month of December alone.
Wow.
So that program is growing tremendously. We have a professional development program called Creative Enterprise, which is an intensive kind of incubator program for artists.
I got to
and
be there last time. It was such a great experience.
Yeah, we have a beautification program. We do a lot of advocacy work, a little bit of everything, both in terms of promoting artists and the arts in Spokane, and then also supporting them. One of the things that we've learned throughout the years is just what are the entry points, what are the points throughout an artist's career where they might need support. And we've tried to build community and structure and systems and processes and financial support around that. So a little bit of everything. We've grown tremendously since that first flagship event when we thought it was going to be a one night only, one time thing. But we're super proud and super excited to be doing this kind of work in Spokane.
Wow, I mean, you really are helping artists start and to grow and promoting art in Spokane and selling art for people to support artists. I mean, you really do everything that is art related and all kinds of arts.
Yeah, well, I think, one of the things I should have mentioned in kind of like our origin story is really the impetus for Terrain was there were several different kind of layers and reasons behind it, but a big reason is that we, I was in my 20s, our remaining co-founders were in our 20s, and we had been told the narrative at that moment in time, 2008, if you were going to be, quote unquote successful or have fun in your 20s, you were going to do it anywhere but Spokane, Washington. My mom was told that narrative, so it created this generational brain drain. And what we were trying to do, one of the things that we were trying to do with that first event was try to celebrate the creativity and the artists that were here, and to try to stop kind of that massive brain drain that was happening. We also kind of saw a disconnect between what we kind of deemed as like the burgeoning undercurrent, the counterculture, artists in Spokane, and the more established artists in Spokane, the Harold Belays of the world, the Karen Mobleys of the world. So we really wanted to get those groups together in a single room and in a single evening to see what would happen. And then we also saw, a disconnect between who was and wasn't being invited to the art table, who was and wasn't able to engage with art. We saw a disconnect between kind of underrepresented voices in the creative community. Again, and some other kind of things that we were thinking at the time that I don't have to bore you with the details, but yeah, getting all of those people together, all of those ideas together into a single room. And about an hour and a half into that first event, we realized we had tapped into something pretty special. So.
Very special. I've been to many of them, and I look forward to it. I can't wait to go again. It's been such a loss to not have that. So having that come back. And so let's talk more about the From Here store.
Sure.
So, I mean, that, our focus here at Ignite is really on innovation. And so you really are selling innovative products from artists in the store. And so is the new line, TerrainX, is that also going to be sold through the store, or is it going to be online, or how is that going to happen?
Great questions. So one of the things I should have mentioned with From Here is an extension of our Creative Enterprise program, and it blossomed, it grew out of there. So we really treat the storefront as an incubator space. And so some of those requirements are, for example, that artists need to work a shift in the store so they can interact with their customers, see what's working, see what's not working. With a lot of our staff, we talk about modeling behavior. Our staff manager does a lot of business development with the artists and the creative entrepreneurs that are selling out of the shop. So we very much treat, and because I know Ignite's audience, we very much treat From Here as an incubator space. So I think that's an important thing. We're trying to build an ecosystem of creativity within that space. But yes, so to go back to your answer, or your question about TerrainX. So one of the things that we've wanted to do for a really long time is to do a locally artist design accessories and apparel line. And originally we had that idea to do that through our flagship event. Now that we have this storefront, it makes perfect sense to be able to introduce kind of that line in From Here. And so we partnered with artists starting in kind of September of last year to kind of start kicking around the idea to kind of help come up with design ideas for their particular products. And then we launched TerrainX on Small Business Saturday of November 26, 2021 or whatever. So far it's been wildly successful. We've partnered with, let's see, who have we partnered with? We have partnered with Jaime Lin, who is an incredible painter and graphic designer. She has a couple of murals around town, so folks might be familiar with her work. But she deals a lot with kind of her feminine identity and then her Chinese identity and just identities in general. So she made this really beautiful design of an Asian American woman kind of looking at Monroe Street Bridge. And she can see the reflection of Spokane through kind of her binoculars. But then she added an African American woman, a redhead, just again identity reflecting in kind of those designs. So Jaime Lin is someone we partnered with. Joshua Thomas is an amazing.
I like his socks. Josh's socks.
Yes, I love Josh. So Joshua is just like this unicorn human being. He's incredibly talented. But he is quite literally probably the most like professional acting artist I've ever dealt with. No offense to anybody else, but he's just on the ball. He's super communicative. He's super talented. He is amazingly talented. And so we have his socks. We also have a t-shirt and a sweatshirt of his. Carly Ingersoll is another artist that we partnered with. Carly is a beloved musician and visual artist here in town. Her and her husband, Caleb, opened the Bartlett several years ago. They own Lucky You Lounge. And again, she's a well-known, beloved artist here in town. She did a t-shirt design, a sweatshirt design, and 2 enamel pins for us that are sold out of the line. Who else? Josh Wayne is also another artist that we worked with. Josh works for the Great P&W, which is a really successful clothing line here in Spokane. And he did kind of a Spokane-centric pair of socks, a shirt, and a beanie that's been really successful. And then we have a couple of different artists like on the up to bat. So Carl Richardson is a beloved local artist here in town. He teaches at the Falls. He teaches art at the Falls. He's the chair there. He's also TerrainX exhibit preparator. So he has a really amazing design that's going to be coming out. And then Rose Honey, who's another incredible designer here in town, has a really fun kind of nostalgic 1960s, 70s-ish design that's going to be launching sometime soon.
So are all these things through the store, or can people buy them online?
So yes. So from here we have an online store. So anything that you can buy in the physical store, you can also buy online from herespokane.com. And so all of TerrainX is sold online as well.
I just love that someone can wear art, right, created by a local artist, and that it's Spokane-centric. So they're, like loving their community. And you did touch a little bit on diversity. So it is Black History Month. And so I know that that's something that Terrain has, with your BLM mural. And so I know that's important to you personally. So maybe let's talk a little about what you've been thinking about this year for Black History Month, and kind of what Terrain is doing to promote more diversity.
Yeah, so diversity has kind of has been baked into Terrain's DNA from the very beginning. It's something that we very consciously cultivated and built relationships around. We believe really strongly that we are a stronger, more vibrant, more creative city the more that we amplify a variety and a diversity of voices. And so it's something that whether you attend our flagship event or you buy a TerrainX shirt, you are going to see reflected, because it is incredibly important to the mission and the vision and the values of our organization. But we know that cultivating diversity takes time, and it's about building relationships. And so we are actively and consciously always trying to reach out to communities, underrepresented communities of color, queer communities, to make sure we're doing our job. And to make sure we're building those relationships. So again, everybody can have a voice in the city that we're building together. Our motto or hashtag is "We all build this," and we believe it wholeheartedly. It's going to take all of us coming together in order to build the kind of community that I certainly want to live in, and I think that you want to live in.
We talk about that a lot in all the different economic development meetings you and I are in, and I know that everyone, me especially, appreciates your role in being a leader in our community, a leader for diversity, a leader for artists. I think it's so important. It's kind of a chicken and egg issue that we have, and that we want more diversity, so we need more diversity so that we can keep moving that direction. And it's just such an important piece of, and I hope there's some sort of hashtag "We all build this" shirt coming. Eventually through TerrainX.
I just made stickers just the other day
because I will use one.
And I think it's one of the things I've been saying lately is where are all these Black people coming from? It's amazing. But it's even as a Black woman living in Spokane, I have acute awareness that just because we're a Black-led organization doesn't mean that Black people are going to engage with our organization if I don't make an effort, if we don't make an effort, if we don't build those sorts of relationships. And so it's not this kind of if we build it, they will come. It's if we go out and we consciously and actively cultivate these relationships with a variety of communities of people. That is when that synergistic, true reflection of who we are as a community is going to happen. And we spent 14 years doing that, and I'm super proud of the way that's reflected in the artists that we represent. It's reflected in the people who attend our events. It's reflected in the partnerships that we have, the community partnerships that we have. But we are continually building those relationships, and we always will do that work. And so I think my response to kind of when we're sitting in those economic development, meetings, whatever it happens to be, is you have to build those relationships. We're not going to we can't just will it, we can't just say it. We have to actively and consciously build those relationships. Otherwise, we are going to be having these same conversations 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And if there's anything the last couple of years has kind of awakened in me, is I'm fired up and I'm done with that. What are we doing as a community to make these changes? I'm done talking about it. What is the action behind it?
Yeah. Well, you're so action oriented, and everyone I know on your team
I'm getting fired up.
I know. I love
more
that.
Closer to
but it's true. And one of the things I learned through Leadership Spokane that I grew up in a not very diverse community, and I've always learning and always trying to grow, is that everyone is diverse, right? You can have two people, same religion, same color skin, same upbringing, and they think differently. So like you're saying, engaging with people one-on-one and saying, who are you? What do you care about? What do you think? It's diversity it's so many different things. And so I think listening to people and hearing them.
And I think that's why art and creativity is such a powerful tool. I mean, arts allows us it gives us an entry point in for conversation. It allows us to see the humanity in somebody. It allows us to empathize with someone. Again, kind of talking about the last couple of years that we're, still kind of trying to wrap our heads around and chew through and grieve from, is that if art or the pandemic shines kind of a huge light on a lot of different things in this country, in our world, in our community here in Spokane. And we've talked a lot about kind of the discrepancies and the inequities that COVID has shown us and what we need to work around, but it has also shown us what we need to kind of come together. And I would argue that when you are feeling low or you're feeling celebratory, you turn to a song, you turn to a poem, you turn to a book, you turn to a piece of visual art that creates some sort of movement with you inside of you. You look at something differently because someone shares a different perspective with you. And so I'm convinced more than ever, not that I needed more convincing, that art and creativity is the answer to, again, building the community, building the Spokane we all want to see.
We all build this.
We all build this.
Thank you so much for talking to me.
Yes,
and thank you for everything that you do and everyone on your team, that everyone that contributes to Terrain.
Shout out to Jackie Cara, who's on maternity leave, but she's amazing and a huge part of why Terrain has been so successful.
Yeah, well, thank you. Please keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, likewise.
Yes, and we'll talk again soon.